About lives at STL. A bunch of us got together, you know, and decided we didn't like what we were seeing being done here in St. Louis on a lot of different levels. A lot of clubs have just about ruined the music scene here in St. Louis by doing things like advanced ticket sales, you know, and then the club keeps all the money. Limiting the amount of time somebody can play during a month, you know. If some fucker wants to limit how many times a month you can play, by God, they ought to put you on a fucking retainer and pay you. Because they're taking away your livelihood if you can't play when you want to play, you know. That's two areas, you know, that are really bad. Another thing is that so many clubs, and this goes back, and what kind of made me think of all this, I wrote a story one time years ago from one of the magazines called St. Louis, a city of opening acts. And what I was getting at was that there was a lot of clubs at that time that were doing this. Bands, local bands, were strictly booked to play openers, opening spots. And, you know, and somebody blows smoke up a bunch of people's asses and say, oh, well, you know, they hear you, you know, this might be your big chance. Most times they're out in the fucking back getting high, you know, ain't looking at nobody. If they were, they're playing so damn many places, you know, they couldn't promise or do anything for everybody where they're at. And what I did when Sherry and I opened up the Way Out Club years ago, for years, we just had local bands. Local bands headline, local bands open up, local bands were in the middle, you know. And it worked out well, and it kind of created a scene. But then a few years ago, some people come into St. Louis, and a lot of it has to do with clubs like Plush. Now, Plush is a chain. And they can bring in a lot of out-of-town bands much cheaper than a lot of places can, because they're booking those same bands in a bunch of different clubs around the country, not just here. And what they do by having bands block out time, because, you know, they want a big show there, and they also know, like anybody that's ever been in this business as a promoter or a band or a club owner, it's not the out-of-town bands that bring the crowd in. You know, it's the local bands. I get messages all the time from people that said, we'd like to play your club, get us set up with some good bands, you know, and that pisses me off, like when I was in the book business and somebody say, oh, you have any good books, you know, they're all good. And the concept, you know, it just burns my ass to think that people, you know, St. Louis has got a hell of a music history. You know, not just, you know, they talk about the blues. The rock and roll was pretty great here too. I could name people I saw over the last 50 years here in St. Louis. A lot of them went on, a lot of them died young, but there was a great music scene. It still is a great music scene. And the thing is, if you're going to have bands coming in from out of town, by God, they shouldn't come here because they want a band here to open for them. They should think enough of St. Louis and realize that it is a hot, happening place, and fucking want to open for the bands here, not the other way around. If they went to Memphis, if they went to Nashville, if they went to Minnesota, that's exactly what the fuck they do. And they can do that here. If for one thing, you had some writers that could fucking write and would write about the clubs and the entertainment here in St. Louis instead of trying to write goddamn ads that they can sell everywhere else, because it's about a national act.
That's right.
And I used to know most of the writers. And I can tell you a little story. One night in here, there was a guy that was supposed to write a major article about a couple of up-and-coming bands that he saw, up-and-coming bands. Well, he just slept the article. Come in here, he says, who you got playing tonight, Bob? And I told him. He said, well, I'm going to use these two bands tonight for the up-and-coming bands. He never even stayed to see them. It was early in the evening. He talked to them, wrote the goddamn article, put it in the paper. Now they might have been good, they might have been bad, they might have been playing for 20 fucking years. But when it hit the newspaper, they were up and coming bands. They were really good. You know, that's the kind of shit you get. I know writers that have 5 or 6 bands, favorite bands in the city, and if they ain't playing a club, they're not going to be there. They're not going to see anybody else.
That's right.
You know, and that has a lot to do with it. You know, and you try to get, not just, but with the STL celebs, not just music, there's dancers, there's filmmakers, there's actors.
That's right. That's right.
There's so many different aspects.
That's right.
That kind of stay in the underground because there's not places or people that have enough faith in what they got right here in St. Louis to really push the people that are here. And the bands themselves can do a lot along that. We're trying to get together clubs. We got a few, get a few more. And tell them, you know, it's to your advantage. It's to your advantage to nurture and push the bands here. Because when they get a crowd, if they're not assholes like some of the people that own the clubs, they'll still play there. You know, that's the beauty of it. And we can make things change. It's not that hard. It really isn't. It's just a matter of working at it. And this is what this is about tonight. And the money that people gave at the door is going to further that cause. You know? And I hope that if there's any bands that are here, they'll see one of us tonight that are involved in it, and let them know when the meetings are coming up, and what clubs, you know, kind of follow that. I mean, there's also some things that the bands can do. One of the biggest is if you're playing a show, stay and see the other bands that are on the fucking bill. You know, that's a biggie. It's a biggie for 2 things. The audience that comes to see you will stay if you're there. But if you act like there's nothing else worthwhile except yourself, they're going to fucking leave too, you know? And that's about all, because it's a great show, and I didn't really want to get into preaching. But just keep in mind, the people that put this on can all help you find out about the dates and different clubs that people are doing this. And I think you all know the ones that's not. There was an article about one of them in the RFT a couple of weeks ago. Thank you.